Joining us today is Carl Willis, CEO of Simplicity Marketing. Carl, welcome to the closing table.
Hey, Adam, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, again, thank you for coming. I'm excited to pick your brain, learn about you, your business, your journey, everything that's been going on in your life. So, why don't we just start? Why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name's Carl Willis, CEO of Simplicity Marketing. And under Simplicity Marketing, we have a couple of agencies, agent branding and marketing, remodeling marketing team. And then I'm also a real estate investor. So we have Simplicity Investments, SEKS Properties, and we also have Altoona Properties as part of that mixture. And so I wear lots of hats, but at the core of all of this is digital marketing. So that is our primary lead generation strategy. That's how we acquire most of our real estate holdings. That's always been the heartbeat of what we do. And as you and I were talking before we hit the record button, it actually came out of a challenge. I was asked to teach lead generation to a group of real estate investors. And the question was posed to me, but do you have any real estate investing examples? And I said, well, no, but I know it works. And so I set out to prove that and use myself as the guinea pig. And that's how I got started in my real estate investing journey, was putting those same principles into play and building my portfolio using digital marketing as my lead generation strategy. But my background as a financial advisor, I'd been a Series 7 advisor, so I understood the investment world, and I certainly understood people's motivations when it came to money: fear, hope, and greed. And combining those things with digital marketing is a lethal combination.
Wow, Carl, that is quite the resume you have there. Very, very impressive. So we'll go right at the name of the company, Simplicity. You've clearly found a niche in simplicity. So how do you define that for your clients, and what does that look like in practice?
Well, the whole point of simplicity is this. I'm a firm believer in a term called attraction marketing. And attraction marketing is all about matching the message to the person that you are trying to communicate with. And when we talk about real estate, it's really, in my world, I'm less interested in the property than I am the person. I'm looking for the situation more than I am the property itself. I'm more interested in your pain point, because if your pain point's right, you're going to take my offer. And what I need is I need your urgency. I need your desperation. And my favorite conversation is to talk to that seller and let them know that there are three other ways you can make more money than what I'm going to offer you. What I'm offering you is the ability to end your problem and to end it very quickly. And so I'm not going to be the most profitable solution. I'm going to be the quickest solution. And so when I am out marketing, I am marketing for a certain type of individual, a certain type of situation. And so my message is geared towards that person. And so the person that responds to me is somebody that meets those criteria. And I even set up my marketing in such a way that it's a two-step process. People that only go through the first step, I already know I'm not going to make those transactions. You're not desperate enough. It's the people that go through step number two. Those are the ones I typically close, because you were desperate enough to take the time to answer all those questions and give me the information that I needed.
So, Carl, how do you find these type of people? How do you know their level of desperation? Is it, distressed properties? Do you go to registries? Tell me a little bit about how you are doing your farming.
Well, I'm a digital marketer. So I love Facebook. I love Instagram. I love Google, but Facebook's one of my favorite, so let me give you a typical ad for Carl.
Sure.
Did he leave you with the house and the bills? That would be a typical Carl ad. A typical Carl ad is, are you tired of crying yourself to sleep in the house by yourself? That might be a typical Carl ad. Grandma's in the nursing home and you and your siblings don't know what to do with the property, that's a typical Carl ad. I like to open up the nerve, drum on it a little bit, pour a little salt on it, because I'm already speaking to what's going on in your life. And so when you see that ad, I'm speaking to what's happening in your world. So I'm not having to do deep research. I'm just talking to you where you are. And that's what I'm excel in. That's, how I make a living day by day is stopping the scroll. So that's what I do.
So let me ask you about that, Carl, about stopping the scroll. I'm a big baseball guy, not sure if you are, but let's talk batting averages here. Of all the eyeballs that are scrolling, what percentage would you say stop and click on your ad and then ultimately engage with you?
Well,
Keep it
again, it's changed a little bit because our world has changed a little bit. You go back a few years, Facebook gave us a little more to work with. Now they're a little more generic in the targeting, so we have to layer a little more. But when we're doing things well, when we have our messaging right, we're still going to get a click through rate somewhere in the 10 to 15% range. Out of those 10 to 15%, those that actually go to our landing page, we're probably going to get an opt-in rate somewhere in that 10% range again. And out of those that opt in, we may get, a conversation rate out of that, again, about 10%. And we're going to close probably out of anybody that goes through our two-step process, we're going to close about 80% of those. And that's what we're looking for, because the right person is going to be more profitable to me.
okay. Makes total sense, and I'm in agreement with that. So as far as your target audience goes, your net that your digital net that you're casting,
Mhm.
is that domestically across the entire United States? Are we talking global here?
No,
Kind of give me an idea of
no,
where your
I
focus
have
is.
my sweet spot. So I live in central Kansas, and I have gotten really fond of rural Kansas. And part of that is as real estate values skyrocketed, I found rural America to be great value. And so when prices skyrocketed a few years ago, I actually sold out most of my holdings and here locally in the metropolitan area at a nice profit. And I went and reinvested in the rural areas and found that I was picking up properties for a fraction of what I was paying elsewhere. So I'll give you a great example. One of my most recent purchases was a 10 unit apartment complex plus a house, and I paid $85,000 for that entire portfolio.
I,
That cash flows when it's fully occupied at $6,000 a month. I can't find those deals anywhere else.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, yeah. So I like to make my money work well, and so that's my sweet spot. I have just found that's the area that works well for me because I live here. It's easy driving distance. Go with what you know. Now I'm going to kind of jump into something we haven't broached yet, but you're already into my sweet spot. We're in the AI world today, and AI is helping us in our quest to find people because AI really helps us do a lot of our heavy lifting. And so the great thing is now we can take what's been profitable for us previously and have AI help us develop our avatars even better. And so we can tell AI, here's what I'm looking for. Here's kind of my sweet spot. Here's where I've been finding it. Help me refine my messaging a little bit. Help me refine my targeting a little bit. Help me develop a little better campaign metrics. And what I'm finding is AI is really helping to make me more efficient in that process. But use the tools that are available to us today, just knowing how to use them.
Absolutely. And, I hear that all the time. It could be a combination of any of the following where, people see the value in AI. They may not understand how to use it or where to start or how to implement it or what capabilities are even available out there. So on that note, for any viewer that's, wondering some of those questions of, where do I even begin? I hear such great success stories and use cases by implementing it into their business's workflow. But where do I start? There's got to be something more than ChatGPT, right? Well, that's really the purpose, the foundation of this podcast is to understand, a variety of different industries, understanding what they're do and their workflow, if they're using AI and in what capacity. And I hope to shed some light in addition to that so that everybody can walk away with something from an educational standpoint. So, Carl, I'm going to ask you some tech questions, right? Well, first, kind of, let's go with this. Tell me a little bit about your team. Are you a one man band, or do you have a small to medium sized team? Do you outsource, per project base? Tell me a little bit about how you get going.
Yeah, so I've got a team of 10 people, and we also have some outsourced talent as well. And then AI is the centerpiece of what we do. So, just give you a little backstory. When we saw Google rolling out their generative AI in beta form in 2023, I'm a child of the 80s. I said, I've seen this before in Terminator and War games. So at that time, Sam Altman did me a favor. He rolled out custom GPTs. And I said, so it takes a Terminator to deal with a Terminator. And I started to play with the idea of could you train a GPT to work against Google's algorithms? And we began to kind of play with that idea in our business. And then we found it so successful, we actually rehashed our entire business around that concept. And what that means is if I have an objective, I'm going to start with my idea, but I'm going to go to AI with that idea and say, here's my objective. Here's my initial plan. Help me fine tune that plan. For example, I have one that's trained on anything I've ever written. It's trained on transcripts of podcasts that I've done. It knows my Myers-Briggs personality profile. If I'm writing emails and I need it to sound like me, I'll tell it talk like me and so it will sound like me. And so what it does is it allows us to fine tune an AI on a specific task or focus. But the whole point being, Adam, is we go AI first in our strategy.
Okay. Well, I certainly love to hear that.
Eh,
And Carl, clearly you've dove into the deep end with it, and I again love to hear that as well. It's amazing the trajectory that AI is heading, and it seems like almost every single day there's new tools, new platforms, new ways to use it and implement it into your business. And clearly it sounds like you're at the forefront of that. So I commend that. All right, Carl, it sounds like you have different use cases for different tools across a variety of different industries and situations. Okay. So that certainly covers the AI element of it. How versed are you as far as automation goes?
So, yeah, automation, we use AI intakers or on our websites. So, our remodeling marketing site, we actually have an intaker on the site that will walk you all the way through setting an appointment with our sales team. We have an estimator AI where you can plug in your own numbers and it'll give you an estimate. There is a new AI that we are partnered with that I absolutely love, where you can go out with a smartphone and take a video. I mean, it has multiple use cases. So this could be for real estate, this could be for an HVAC company, it could be for a moving company or remodeler. You can take a video of a space and the AI will do a preliminary estimate for whatever the use case is. You can program it. So for a moving company, for example, it'll estimate how many boxes you need, how much bubble wrap you need, how much protectors you need for pictures, and how many fragile stickers you need. And I mean, it's just incredible the use cases that it needs. And so we've got those. We have inbound and outbound call AI functionality that we're using. So we have all of those use cases as well from the automation side that we're utilizing in our own companies. And, that's just because we're, sales and marketing oriented. We've also seen the customer service chatbots that are AI driven, um, that are being utilized. Those are the use cases that we're, utilizing at this point.
What kind of impact has it had on your business margins, if you will? Were you able to implement some of these tools in lieu of something else that was, a high cost, traditionally for you? Where do you stand between that crossroad between fully committing, to the technology versus, I still think we and or our clients still prefer to deal with a person directly.
Yeah. So, as far as margin impact, that's yet to be fully determined. What I am seeing is we are seeing scale in productivity. So, for example, we have the cost estimator now on all of our websites. So, we've seen our lead generation increase about 20% since we implemented that. That's been implemented 90 days ago. Just actual lead submission through the website. So, there is a cost savings because this really is the first year they've been able to deploy those technologies. We haven't really seen what those full cost savings look like, but we know that they've not had to make all the hiring that they've had to do traditionally.
Understood. And I wholeheartedly agree with you there. And the tech will just keep getting better and better and better and be able to, you know, there will, and honestly, it's quite frankly, it's here where you can't even tell if it's, if it's programmed correctly. So I'd say, right now, given the fact that you are fully immersed in it, typically I would reserve this question for somebody that's maybe not as, advanced as you are. But let me ask you this. We'll see. We'll find out. If you could solve or apply AI into a part of your business that you typically is a major pain point for you, or it's a time consumer, it's a higher cost that you'd like to see reduced, where would you like to see AI go next for your business?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest place that I would love to see AI go next is in some of the strategy decision making. There is still a point where you have to have some human decision making element in strategy. I think we're fairly close to crossing that bridge. I would love the place where I knew I could fully automate some places in our business. So, for example, pay-per-click campaigns in our business. So, AI does a great job of analyzing, AI does a great job of making recommendations. AI is not to the place it can fully manage and optimize a campaign in real time.
Okay, understood. I don't think we're too far away from that either.
No.
This. What do you hope to be different? What results do you hope to see that are better? It doesn't even need to be monetary. It could be you got some more time back in your life to go fishing or play a sport, have a hobby. It could be something personal. Just tell me a little bit about like that where you could say personally, this was success. I achieved my goal to be able to do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. So I'll give you a personal one right now. So I actually have a trained AI that is interviewing me because I'm trying, I'm in my mid 50s. I have two grandchildren, two more on the way, and I am trying to write as much of my life's journey and document as much of my life's journey as I can. So what I am trying to do is to have the AI assist me in pulling as much of my life experience out of my head as I can. Where I would love to be is AI gets stuck on too many of the same stories of my life and wants to tell those same stories over and over again.
Maybe they're really good stories though, Carl.
Well,
Maybe it's worth a second share.
maybe, but I would love for AI to be a little more comprehensive in its ability to unpack the principles and tell the story of my life and narrate it a little better without me having to guide it quite so much. I think really, what I want to see with us is we really are wanting to have AI become more of a strategy driving factor for our clients in a almost CMO type way, to where it really is analyzing and making real-time recommendations with less input, to where it is not needing near the, and this is what I'm looking for, is more of the self-learning side of it, that it will take the initial inputs and start to perpetuate off of those more and more. And so what that'll do for us is it will allow us to scale faster. And that's really what I'm looking for, is to scale quicker. So, right now our profit margins are at 30%. If we can do that, we'll be able to push to 40%, in the next 12 months, which is what I would love to do.
Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience as far as recommendations? If you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice is start just diving in with AI. Pick one, whether it's Chat GPT or Gemini or Claude, just pick one, but get in there and just start using it and playing with it. And I hate to use the word play with it, but truthfully, play with it. Get on YouTube, go find somebody's channel where they're giving prompts, or get out on Facebook and find one of the groups that is giving out prompts for entrepreneurs or real estate investors or realtors, or whatever your flavor is, and just start experimenting with those things and try it out. Try those things out and see what it can do for you, because you're really going to be amazed at the power of how AI can revolutionize your business, your finances, or, personal development. There's just things you haven't thought about using AI for, that you're going to start to deploy it in and go, holy cow, this just made my life so much simpler. Like I said, one of my favorite things that I'd never thought of, and I had another CEO recommend it to me. They said, make an advisory board for yourself. And I said, well, tell me about that. And they said, well, I have an advisory board of like 12 people. So mine is like Richard Branson, King Solomon, G. Letourneau. I've got
I love it.
all these titans, Warren Buffett, it's these 12 different people. And so when I get stuck on something, and I'll give you a great example. I was back and forth on a pricing strategy about 9 months ago, and I just couldn't quite land on where I wanted to go with it. So I threw it in front of my advisory board. Um, and so, it threw out different answers, and I always laugh, like with Warren Buffett, it's always some analogy of Coca-Cola or See's candy. And, it just sounds like Warren Buffett. But ultimately it came down to, here's what they all came away with. And then it was, here's the consensus. Would you like me to help you develop a strategy now based on this consensus? And I was able to then put that together and formulate, yeah, this really is the way I think I want to go with this. And it made sense. And wow, that's great. And
So you had the advisory board
yeah,
give you what was it, the sales price, or the sales
yeah, pricing
analyzer,
structure.
the pricing structure. So what was the result? Did you go through with it?
I did.
Was it you did?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I was dealing with was, do I go with a lower end offer in my pricing structures. Do I put a low end offer out there because we kept getting a lot of people coming to us in our agency that services the remodeling industry? And they weren't really who we were going after, but we kept getting a lot of people coming to us that fit that category. But we really were after more of the premier remodeling companies. And I was like, well, are we leaving money on the table? And so, that's the question I put out there. And the feedback was, no, you really don't want that. So actually set your prices here, here, and here. And so we went in and readjusted our prices to actually make it less palatable. And what it really came down to was your messaging is a little off. That's why you're getting these. Readjust your pricing accordingly so it's very clear you don't serve that segment of the market, and change your messaging up.
Makes sense. It's never one dimensional. There's always a multitude of reasons where it comes to the conclusion that it does. And, oftentimes it's things that you never even would have thought
That's right.
or that were not correlated. So that's an impressive use case, and I'm happy it all worked out for you. So, Carl, as we wrap up here, I want to give you the opportunity to plug your business, give a shout out for anybody that's listening if they could utilize your services. Here's your time to shine, Carl.
Absolutely. Easiest way to find me, simplicitymarketingllc.com. You can go check us out. I've got a lot of resources online. You can look me up. I've got a YouTube channel, Carl Willis. That's a great place to also find more activity. And as always, Adam, has been great being with you. And thanks for letting me join you here, and wish you the best on the podcast.
Thank you, Carl. The feeling is absolutely mutual, and I appreciate your time and for being here with us today.
Thank you.
1, 2,